I personally think it would be a much better use of this committee's time to conduct meaningful oversight of how the programs are being rolled out and whether they are working as intended to relitigate whether we should have passed this or not. So we can continue to go back and forth on whether this bill is good or bad, or we can get serious about trying to conduct oversight on whether it is actually helping people and what we need to do to push the administration to deliver. We had a major heat wave harming portions of the United States during most of July and August. And in Southern California, where I live, we saw temperatures get as high as 110 degrees. Mr. Higgins, if you were experiencing this kind of extreme heat, what would you turn on in your home to keep yourself safe and comfortable?
The air conditioner.
The air conditioner. We'd all prefer to turn on the air conditioner. But not every American can afford an air conditioner, let alone pay for the energy needs of that system. I know a resident of California's 47th congressional district who got frustrated during the heat wave. They got literally hot and bothered. Throughout the summer, they didn't have air conditioning in their home. And this constituent is concerned about the increase in temperatures, the air quality issues with wildfires, and they want to buy an energy-efficient heat pump to cool their home, bring down their heating costs, and reduce their dependence on volatile fossil fuels. But she can't just go spend the money because she also needs to replace her broken gas stovetop, which has one working burner, and her 20-year-old dishwasher. Mr. Higgins, how can the Inflation Reduction Act help this Californian afford a heat pump and lower their bills without breaking the bank?
Thank you for the question. It's for the first time, there are new incentives for heat pumps because of IRA. It includes a tax incentive of $2,000, but that only helps households that have the tax liability. So there's also a program to create rebates for low-income households, which will be administered through the states, which for participating households, it can cover up to the entire expense, including installation and electric upgrades.
Okay, so this household has tax liability, so I think they're going to be able to get the $2,000 per year for a heat pump. This sounds like this really would help this Californian be able to afford this heat pump, really bring down the cost, reduce the carbon footprint, help her save money on energy bills in the long term. Mr. Higgins, can this hot and frustrated Californian go get this heat pump using this credit?
Yes, and Treasury is working on guidance right now.
Oh, stop there, Mr. Higgins. This Californian is hot today. Can they go get a heat pump using this credit today?
They'd have to wait until the end they file their taxes to get their rebate, but Treasury is working on the guidance to make that much clearer so that by next summer, this will be a much smoother option for households than it was this summer.
So right now, the Department of Energy, Department of Treasury, they're still preparing to roll this out.
That's right.
So it's been a year since the Inflation Reduction Act passed. And as a practical matter, I think it's cold comfort to a lot of people to hope that they can figure out somehow with TurboTax how to get this credit. They want to be able to go in the store and get it for less now, up front. When can this Californian go do that?
So as soon as the Treasury puts together their new guidance for 25C, which is that part of the tax credit, which they are expecting, I think the Treasury just announced that was one of the next priorities they were working on for the end of this year, so that it'll be in place for the next tax credits in, I think, a way that's much more intuitive than it was this summer.
Okay, because the Department of Energy's website says that DOE expects households to be able to access these rebates in much of the country in 2024. You're talking about Treasury and the credits. So this Californian without air conditioning all summer has to wait basically another year to get an energy efficient heat pump. You testified that these households can save hundreds of dollars. You gave aggregate figures. Did you adjust those aggregate figures downward for the fact that nobody's been able to use these programs yet?
No, those numbers are based on the projections of once this is implemented. So I agree with you that these programs are still being rolled out, particularly for the consumer-facing credits.
Yeah, you might be interested to know that this Californian is me. Like many Americans, I want to reduce my greenhouse gas emissions, I want to save money on my energy bill, and I would like air conditioning. And many of us can't make our homes greener, and we have heard about this Inflation Reduction Act. We have heard about these tax credits, but we are not able to take advantage of them. I understand that the Treasury's working on it, that DOE's working on it, that the states are working on it, but the takeaway is the Inflation Reduction Act is the law of the land. How each of us feels about this law isn't going to change, but we can make the law work. We can ask tough questions on a bipartisan basis about what the holdup is. And I personally think it would be a much better use of this committee's time to conduct meaningful oversight of how the programs are being rolled out and whether they are working as intended to relitigate whether we should have passed this or not.